we don't need to quote "We'll be all in" anymore from Jerry Jones. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever tried to. I know you're a better parent than most, Nick. If you've ever convinced the kids to do something, uh, but I'll take you for ice cream later, or maybe in your case, frozen yogurt or whatever the healthy alternative is. You've got to deliver on that. And for Cowboys fans, they were told they were going to get ice cream with Uncle Jerry Jones, and it never happened for them. Unless, of course, you bought your Ezekiel Elliott jersey 10 years ago. You can throw it in the washer, get the dust off, and you can throw that bad boy back on. But now they're at a crossroads where, welcome to my neck of the woods. They're in Oxnard, California. Dak Prescott is there. Micah Parsons is there. CeeDee Lamb is not there based on his contract holdout, each of them on the final years of their contracts. So I guess it goes to show you, Nick, that if you want to win football games, you need a quarterback, a receiver, and an elite pass rusher. You need other positions. I might even say safety as well. But, Nick, the Dallas Cowboys right now, fixing their problems with these looming contract extensions. Is it a matter of the Jones family opening the checkbook? Do you prioritize one over the other? Is CeeDee Lamb, the fact that he's not there, go to the front of the line to you? How do you sort of rank taking care of these players, whether or not you are running that Cowboys front office?
Well, the first thing that I would do, and history has shown, that you take care of the quarterback position. As long as you have that guy secure on a long-term deal, you can maneuver everything. Even if that means, from me, I'm not being crazy, but hey, you secure the bag with Dak Prescott. You try to figure out what's going on with CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons. Worst case scenario, if you lose both, then now you get back opportunity to go back to the well with a better draft position, you hope. But if I had to choose of the three players and I can only keep two, it's going to be Micah Parsons and it's going to be Dak Prescott. And I know we've seen a lot of young wide receivers get the bag this past offseason, driving the price up. But once again, I mean, how are you going to impact the game? A guy who can, who's very versatile, like a Micah Parsons, who can play different positions on the defense and get after the quarterback, and the guy who moves the needle, Dak Prescott, who is the quarterback, because you can go find another wide receiver. Now, it may not be the same level of production you're getting from CeeDee Lamb. Maybe you can roll the dice and hope that you hit and find a guy like Puka Nacua. Who knows?
Well, sure.
Right.
Easy.
And that's a huge gamble, right? But the idea is that if you kept Parsons and you paid CeeDee Lamb, who the hell's throwing him the ball? No one. So I'm going to get the quarterback. I'm going to get the guy who impacts the quarterback, and I'll try to work out something with CeeDee Lamb long term. If we can't, you know what, man? Show appreciate you. You did your thing. We're just going to have to go find some other guys.
I might just be telling Dak that this is going to be the last ride. Micah Parsons, I think, plays the premier position that you have to lock up long term. And getting a deal done with CeeDee Lamb, I think, is just smart. It's tough. I think the difference between maybe what the Green Bay Packers had done the last few years compared to the Dallas Cowboys is Aaron Rodgers historically, famously, right? They never use a first-round pick on a wide receiver. They never use a second-round pick on a wide receiver since Devontae Adams. But he's shown that he's been able to elevate the ability of the team around him. And I haven't quite made that determination on Dak Prescott. I think he has. I mean, certainly having CeeDee Lamb on the offense is such a huge threat that other players in smaller roles, whether it was Michael Gallup playing the two, who was phenomenal before his rash of injuries. He just retired. One practice with Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders here in Costa Mesa, and
I'm done.
It's a shame. I mean, just the number of injuries just kept piling up. But they've been able to throw different pieces around Dak and a strong running game with Zeke. And I just haven't seen, a sustainable team on both sides of the football where all pieces are working in sync. right? Dak Prescott has a great second half against those Green Bay Packers, but only after he turns the football over 3 times. The defense, meanwhile, completely collapsing in multiple games against the Niners and the Packers this past playoffs. I wouldn't diagnose this as a Dak Prescott problem, but giving him $60 million a year, which is probably where the quarterback market is going to end up, right? If we're at 55.5 right now for Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, Jordan
Yep.
Love pushes that number up. They're not negotiating with Dak until we hit the offseason, right? Maybe a Tua deal gets done. We're going to be close to $60 million for Dak Prescott entering his age 32 season. He'll turn 31 later this month. So entering his age 32 season, a 5-year contract at maybe $300 million, $60 million per. I'm going to just take the 2 younger players, and I'm going to be able to drop in a quarterback at some point. Again, I understand. I understand. You need to win games. Listen, you need to win games. I bring up the Raiders because they're building the roster. They're using this year to have fun with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, and they'll go back to the drawing board at quarterback. Do they have all the answers? No. But if a Dak Prescott shows up in free agency, or if the Atlanta Falcons think that a Kirk Cousins shows up in free agency, or if there are 6 quarterbacks that get taken atop the draft, they may not hit on it, but they've at least given themselves a plan. And I think with where the Cowboys are right now, there is no plan. So,
listen, because there's no plan, you just can't part ways with Dak Prescott right now.
I can't give him $60 million either.
Okay, look, I get it, but if Jerry Jones was smart enough, he would have done this a long time ago to prevent himself.
Right, but he hasn't. We don't live in that reality, Nick.
Right. So you put yourself here, unless you have a quarterback in waiting. And most of the time, most teams like to draft young quarterbacks because it allows them to pay other people on the roster. If you're telling me that is going to be Jerry Jones' philosophy, I'll say, okay, fine. Now you still have to go out and find another quarterback, because even though CeeDee Lamb has been spectacular with Dak throwing him the ball, what is he going to be like with another young quarterback throwing the ball? And oh, by the way, you don't have a highly skilled guy at the tight end position. You don't have a highly skilled guy at the number 2 or the number 3 wide receiver. And oh, by the way, right, Zeke is on a 1-year deal. There's no Tony Pollard who's helping out with the run game. You're going to find yourself in trouble. And if you're Dak, if they want to play the game like this and allow you to play out this final year, fine. You brought up one of those teams who I think, okay, that would be a good fit for.
I think so.
Okay, I got 3 more teams for you.
Okay.
The New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
I'll throw out the New York Giants, right? And my long shot is the Carolina Panthers.
I'll take the Saints off that list immediately because they're paying Derek Carr probably until Dak Prescott's age 40 season, the way they kick the can down the road. But you know what? You can't count them out because they'll just continue to keep paying for players that aren't there. The Panthers are an interesting one for sure, right? They could cut bait on Bryce Young if they give it another year or two. And it's that I like those 3. I'm still putting the Raiders first. It seems too natural of a fit to me. Dak Prescott fighting for his life in Sin City. No issues with the LA Rams if you want to start transitioning over. Listen, I saw what the Cowboys did in the draft, adding beef on their offensive line. Is this really my segue? The Los Angeles Rams were a team so again, Nick Ferguson, Alex Hardy, we're those guys. Or those guys. Each week when we are with you, we'd like to talk about at least 1 or 2 of the NFL teams coming into training camp for the 2024 season, what our expectations are. This past episode, we did the Houston Texans. Nick has a ton of familiarity with his former teammate DeMeco Ryans and an organization that is just full of San Francisco 49er footprints when he was in that facility as well. If you missed that episode, feel free to go back on the podcast feed or the YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, and listen to that episode. But I wanted to pick the LA Rams today because we started with Jordan Love. We talked about the Dallas Cowboys, and my common threads for the Rams are Matthew Stafford, got the restructured contract, so he's back at training camp.